Stop, want some? Stop! You.
Hello survivors and welcome to Survivor's Guild, the only channel that determines your odds of surviving 2011's wake-up call to parents and shock trend for teenage TikTokers, Megan is missing. So stay tuned till the end for your survival stats. I'm your sharp-dressed slasher turned helicopter parent, GhostFake. Now I hope you like really disturbing shit, because this movie is getting spoiled. Some housekeeping right up front. This video won't be for everyone, just like this movie isn't for everyone. And just to give you a heads up, I'm going to try to deliver this in my regular comedic format, in spite of how serious and gross this movie is, so viewer discretion is advised. And since I haven't done this in a while, please consider hitting the like button since I don't expect YouTube to impress this video very much. And hit that subscribe button like it just threw up all over you at a party. And throw that share button into a barrel with its dead friend. And consider checking out patreon.com/survivorsguild, as videos like this rely solely on the support coming from Patreon, because YouTube's monetization feature is a total show. Megan is Missing, written and directed by Michael Goi, and starring Amber Perkins, Rachel Quinn, Dean Waite, Rudy Galvan, and Trigve Hagen. Megan is Missing is about a teenager whose best friend goes missing and is suspected to have been abducted by a catfishing internet predator. This is my last warning here, to turn back if you aren't prepared for this. It's certainly not the worst thing that I've ever seen, but it's impossible not to come away from this movie feeling sick to your stomach just having watched it. The movie depicts horrendous acts perpetrated on teenagers and ultimately climaxes in a really bleak ending that will probably stick with you for a few days, with a message that is driven home every single day with the constant barrage of news stories revolving around groomers, pedos, and human traffickers that continuously make the rounds. This movie depicts the phenomenon in grisly detail and doesn't hold back, causing the viewer to question whether or not the filmmaker went too far. But the truth is, this is the frightening reality that we live in. This world is a fallen one, and as much fun as horror can be, it's not always fun and can sometimes be a useful tool to wake up parents who have been asleep at the wheel. It can be a wake-up call to maybe be the parent that you didn't have, or maybe the friend that you didn't have in your time of need, because sometimes a wake-up call is a good thing and completely necessary. We open up to Based on True Events, and we get introduced to 14-year-old Megan Stewart and her best friend Amy Herman. And a total spoiler for the movie, since the screen text tells us that on January 14th, 2007, Megan goes missing, and that 3 weeks later, Amy also vanishes, and that we are watching the footage compiled from hours upon hours of home videos, surveillance tapes, and news footage, aka found footage. Before we travel back to January 2nd, where we get an idea of who Amy and Megan are. Amy is a fairly reserved 13-year-old girl that doesn't get in much trouble, but has tremendous self-esteem problems. Whereas Megan, who's been shaped by her home life, has gotten into drugs and is known to be a little promiscuous. Megan makes fun of Amy for being a virgin.
You don't even use makeup. I do too. Virgins don't know how to wear makeup.
Which hurts her feelings before offering the advice that it's not that big of a deal and that she just needs to find a guy to lose it to, which the friends laugh off. Cut to 2 days later when Megan is video chatting with her friend Angie and asking her to save some of her drugs before we get introduced to Angie's boyfriend, groomer, and dealer, Gideon, who asks what Megan is willing to do for some, which she is reluctant to answer. But Megan gets into a shouting match with her mom, ultimately making it that much easier for her to choose Gideon and the drugs over reality.
You know, only Gideon's slaves get the fairy dust.
We'll be right over.
The next day, Amy is in her room applying makeup when her dad comes in to discuss Amy's upcoming birthday in a couple days, showing the vast chasm between Amy's household and Megan's. Households in which one longs to be treated as an adult, while the other was forced to mature way too fast.
Alright, get ready for school. We'll talk about your present later, Princess.
Cut over to Megan, who is having a video call with Ben, who's throwing a party this weekend, and Megan has to agree to pay him a favor in order for Amy to be allowed to join.
Ben, can I bring Amy?
Man, this is a party, not church.
And she agrees.
You owe me for this.
Yeah, take a number.
I'm not kidding.
Cut to Saturday at Ben's party, where we see that Megan is pretty protective over Amy, but totally drops the ball when Ben calls in his favor and she leaves Amy alone. And when Gideon tries to assault her, he settles for regular assault when she tells him to stop.
Stop!
And later, Lexi is kissing a girl for the cameraman when Amy party fouls all over her, but she totally had it coming. Several hours later, after the party is concluded, we see a video call between Amy and Megan, where Amy confesses that she botched the party and complains that Megan's friends don't like her. Megan tells her that her friends' opinions of her don't matter, and that she likes Amy for who she is, before she talks about the first time she was assaulted in summer camp when she was 10, in graphic and uncomfortable detail.
You look kind of like that guy in the movie Seven.
Brad Pitt?
No,
The weird killer guy.
She describes the counselor as looking like the weird killer from Seven, which, given the recent controversy surrounding Kevin Spacey, is a bit on the nose. On the nose indeed. Kevin Spacey is a monster. Cut to January 10th, the date the movie began on, and the two friends celebrating Amy's birthday with her new video camera. When they decide to do video interviews, Megan begins telling a camera about herself and her attributes before she begins telling her life story, including the first time that her stepdad her. Oh, what a Debbie Downer. Or like a Megan Melancholy.
Me for the first time when I was 9, and he kept on me for 2 years.
She again goes into graphic detail about her home life and how her stepdad was sent to prison for molesting her from a very young age, which is something that her mom holds against her, holding her responsible for taking away her husband. Cut to Saturday, January 13th, when Megan is on a video call with Lexi, and Lexi tells her about a party that night, and about a dude named Josh that she thinks Megan will like. And later that night, they have their first video chat.
Hello, hot chick.
Hi, skater dude.
My name's Josh.
I often make jokes about ghosts learning how to use the internet. I think maybe twice I've used that joke. But you know what's worse than ghosts using the internet? Humans using the internet. Josh makes the claim that his camera isn't working, and the two flirt with each other over half a video call.
Sucks to be you.
Damn, you're a firecracker.
That's right.
And the two discuss the party that evening and plan to meet each other. The next day, Amy video calls Megan to ask how the party went and how her meeting with Josh went, but she says that he was a no-show before the two of them agree to see a movie later on that day. And later, Megan has another video call with Josh.
Hey, hot chick.
How would you know?
Uh-oh, you sound pissed.
Confronting him on being a no-show the night prior. Josh claims that he was at the party and proves it by describing her whole outfit, before telling her that he was too shy to approach her.
You looked incredible. I totally felt my heart skip a beat when I saw you.
Which is endearing to Megan, and he wins her back over.
You watched me?
Yeah, kinda creepy, huh?
No, it's kind of nice.
And he mentions that maybe they can meet after her and Amy go to the movie. Just he and her. And she agrees. Later, when Megan and Amy get back to Megan's house after the movie, she and Amy have a video call with Josh so that Megan can introduce her to him. Before Amy heads home and Megan plans to meet with Josh. She makes a joke about the meeting spot, behind the diner, and Josh says that he would never hurt her and asks if she trusts him.
I would never hurt you, Megan.
I know.
Do you trust me?
Yes.
And she leaves to go meet him. Cut to the next day, January 15th. Amy can't get a hold of Megan and calls Megan's friends to see if they have heard from her. And all of them haven't seen or heard from her.
I know you don't like me. I was just wondering if you saw Megan in history class today.
Later, she video calls Josh, who claims that Megan was a no-show for their meeting.
Have you heard from Megan at all?
No, I was gonna ask you the same thing.
And says that he hasn't heard from her since. Cut to Wednesday the 17th when we get our first news story of her disappearance. And it's not until the following Friday when the security camera footage gets released, showing a man approaching her and leading her off. On January 20th, Amy video calls Josh again, and he starts the conversation by flattering her.
Hey, Josh.
Hey, cute girl.
Don't say that.
But when that doesn't work, he moves on to insulting her and exploiting her self-esteem issues when she starts asking questions.
You just said I was sexy.
Then you're stupid, too.
Before she ends the call abruptly. Monday, January 29th, Amy is in the news report having taken Josh's name and his chat handle to the police to help in their investigation. And later, Amy takes us to her and Megan's favorite spot, where she has a stuffed bear tucked up under a bridge, where we get our first glimpse of Josh, albeit a very subtle one, where a man approaches in the background and just stands and watches as Amy laments the disappearance of her friend. And he remains there for the length of the video. And later still, Josh contacts Amy on another chat platform to deride her for taking his name to the media.
What do you want from me?
I want you to shut your big mouth.
Telling her that she needs to keep her mouth shut and threatening to pay her a visit if she doesn't. Cut to Sunday, February 4th, when Amy is recording another vlog under the bridge, when she goes to grab the bear, but it's not there. And instead, she gets grabbed by a bear. Cut to a later news report discussing Amy's disappearance, wherein Megan's friends tied pink ribbons around trees to help somehow.
And hopefully you'll make whoever took her, feel bad and let her go.
And this is easily one of the most aggravating things about this movie. It's that while your despair is high for Megan, you're watching her frenemies fake concern to get on the news and make it about them, while Amy was actually trying to help. And it just adds to the enraging nature of this film. We cut to March 12th, where Amy's camera gets found in a trash can near the Angeles National Forest, and the remainder of the movie is the final 22 minutes recorded on her camera. I'm not going to lie, from here on out it gets ultra disturbing, and I'd heavily encourage you to turn back now if you're just not sure you can handle it. And I cannot stress enough that it's important to know your limits when it comes to these kinds of things. Not everyone is built for this stuff, and there are certainly things that I've witnessed that I honestly wish I hadn't, and it's important to draw your line in the sand, and to know when enough is enough, and there's no shame in that. So, as we continue, viewer discretion is advised. We We cut to Amy locked up in a dungeon somewhere, chained to a wall, wearing only a bra and underwear. We also repeatedly see this blue barrel that Josh walks past multiple times, that we'll come back to later. We also find out that his name is not Josh.
My name's not Josh.
But we're going to keep referring to him as Josh for consistency's sake. And over the course of days, Josh returns to her prison to break her down mentally and occasionally feed her, as he takes joy in her suffering, passing by that blue barrel each time, before finally one day bringing her out and brutally assaulting her in a scene so disturbing, I legitimately have a hard time believing that they even filmed it, before putting her back in the cell. Sometime later, he tells her that he's going to release her, but that in order to keep her from leading the authorities back to him, he needs to put her in the barrel so that she doesn't know where he's located.
I just need you to get in this barrel, because I don't want you to see where I live, okay?
He speaks to her as a child, even calling her Princess, which is her dad's nickname for her, to further toy with her mental faculties, which is something that serial abusers actually do. And this only further depicts how much attention was paid when making this movie. It feels exploitative and almost illegal, but it's an exercise in accurately portraying how something like this actually happens, and it doesn't pull any punches. Speaking of not pulling any punches, he walks Amy over to the barrel and takes the lid off, shockingly revealing Megan's brutalized and decomposing corpse in the meat bank at deposit number 1, before he shoves Amy in the barrel. And the next 12 minutes is of Josh digging a hole in real time, as Amy pleads with him to let her go, using the last of her air, desperately trying to negotiate her release, but to no avail as he shoves the barrel into the hole and buries it in the dirt. Amy's cries grow quieter and quieter as more earth is piled onto the barrel, until she cannot be heard at all, and the last shot is Josh hiking out of the ravine, and the movie ends. Now let's take a look at our main characters and the death that surrounds them to determine your odds of surviving this movie. We start off our meat bank deposits with Megan, barreling in at deposit number 1, and we wrap up our meat bank deposits with Amy, who most likely would have run out of air in less than a couple hours, and they definitely didn't find her that quick at deposit number 2 into our meat bank. Now let's take a look at our survivors. We've got Josh, and pretty much every other character is in the periphery, which means that out of a total of 3 characters, only one survives, giving you a 33.33% chance of surviving this movie. Given those odds, how quickly will you quit using the internet? Let me know in the comments below. And if this is your first time on my channel, I'm sorry, and maybe you'll like some of my other videos better. And a huge thanks to my patrons for supporting the odd movie choices I make. I seriously appreciate it. Alrighty guys, as always, thanks, and don't die.